Think fast. This is a strategy to boost the level of creativity in your classroom. Let's get started. Have you ever wondered how to expand a gifted student's mind? Do you hear things like, "I'm bored," "This is easy," "I'm done, what's next?" Well, the time has come for you to learn how to boost creativity in the classroom. First, let's go back in history and think about this guy. And if you don't know him, then you should, so listen up. Alice Paul Torrance is a scholar of creativity, known for his Torrance test for creativity. If it wasn't for him and many others, creativity would not be valued as it is today. Things like this are why we should be pushing creativity in the classroom. So what does this look like in the classroom? You need to push for a growth mindset. You need to push creative activities, and you also need to differentiate because not everyone is as creative or thinks creatively as others. Think fast. This is what I used in my classroom to boost creativity. It's a gifted strategy from Advancing Differentiation by Richard M. Cash. It's where students think creatively about a mystery item, and then they tell you what the item could be, not what it already is. The way I used it in my classroom was before a STEM activity. It was a way to boost creativity and get those juices flowing. What are the steps? First thing you need to do is group your students. Then you need to pick out an item that the students can use. It can be as simple as a pencil to as complicated as an electrical outlet. And then in the first round, the students cannot talk. They are just observing the object and making ideas in their heads. Round 2 is when each student takes turns stating an idea about what they think the object could be, not what it already is. They keep going until the time runs out. And in order to challenge your students, you just say, let's see how many ideas you can get in a certain amount of time. Well, I'm sure you're wondering, how do I differentiate? Well, here's what I did. I grouped based on creativity scores like the Renzulli. My higher group had a more recognizable object because that's more challenging to come up with ideas. And the lower group had a less recognizable object, making it easier to come up with abstract ideas for the object. Was it successful in my classroom? Absolutely. All the students, whether they were in the group with a more recognizable object or the less recognizable object, had a blast coming up with new and intriguing and creative ways to use these objects in life. Here are some of the things I created for my activity. Of course, I had to type up directions just in case there's a time when I couldn't read them out loud to the students. And then the other thing I did was created a rubric based on who meets and doesn't meet and who is progressing or exceeding the standard. Here are some student samples. This student had a more challenging time coming up with creative answers, but still had an answer every single time. This student, on the other hand, came up with fantastically creative answers to what the item could be. This was from the high group. They had a recognizable object that was a dry erase marker, and on the left was the lower group, and they had a part to a tire pressure gauge. Why did it work in my class? I could argue that 50% of my class is gifted. However, I think this strategy would work with any student, but these students in particular are always inquiring, always asking questions, always wanting to create. And then that last piece, differentiation, allowed for the students that think more creatively to be challenged. There are a plethora of ways that you can use this strategy in your classroom. You can use it for an opening to introduce a new story or to get them thinking. You can use it for students to channel their creativity before designing a project. Or in math, you could give them a number and they would have to come up with different number sentences that equal that number. So what do you say? Are you going to give it a try? Watch the creativity flow when you use the strategy called Think Fast.
Created using Powtoon.